that was a nice introduction. Thank you. Yeah, we are not professional speakers. We are just, architects and like to have fun. But we're going to try this. I'm going to say good morning, everyone. We're honored to be here with you. I'm Erla, and this is Tryggvi. And together we lead Minarc Architecture Design and Construction based in Santa Monica, California. Each year, wildfires destroy thousands of homes across the West. Behind every image of devastation are families, memories, and years of hard work gone in minutes.
We have seen it firsthand in Malibu multiple times. Pacific Palisades this year is terrible. Throughout Southern California, through California and the whole world, everywhere. As an architect and builders, we walk through the ashes, and each time we ask the same question, what's happening here? Why are we still building the same way? This is not a design problem. This is a mindset problem.
Wildfires are no longer seasonal. With climate shifts, droughts, and extreme heat, they become a year-round threat. And yet, the way we build hasn't evolved fast enough to meet the reality. And the slideshow is not working.
Yeah, it goes it's a long
Okay,
slide.
then.
They have to appreciate every image that goes through the slides. Let's talk about fire resiliency. Oh, this is
Not working.
yeah. It's not about luck. It has to be planned. It's about how the building is assembled, how it breathes, and how it reacts under stress. Also, I want to mention the resiliency is it's something about overall building to be safe in the environment. These wildfires are completely different, and I think the approach on the wildfire needs to be non-flammable, or we say non-combustible.
Yes, because that's, is important.
Yeah, that's important.
To know, because they say non-flammable, they add more wood.
Yeah.
And keep the fire longer instead of,
let's take a sample, like a typical single roof. The most common roof in America. Those are definitely not fireproof. In fact, singles ignite, and they carry embers, houses to houses, and that's how these fires start.
And that single choice, the material over your head, can decide whether your home survives or burns.
I'm going to throw in a kind of a short story here, which we kind of interesting that we have these people coming back and back to us. Some people have lost their houses, once or even twice before. And still the common sense of the society is to build the same way. And it's so hard, it's so easy for us to sell this to the homeowner, but the industry is the hardest thing to change. And it's mind-boggling about this, So most homes still today are built, framed with wood. And that's what, we are taught, that becomes the norm. That's what the code has allowed us to do. But wound burns, it's wraps, it's strengths, it's has all the issues, and worst of all, it becomes the fuel for the fires.
And even when we add gypsum or layers of wood to reach a 1-hour fire rating, we are still adding fuel, not protection. It may slow ignition, but it increases total burn time and damage. Fire resilience doesn't mean layering on more combustible materials. It means removing them altogether. It's remarkable how our system works. High-rise buildings in cities must meet strict fire codes. Every beam, every surface, every door tested and rated, but a single-family home in the canyon surrounded by Dry vegetation often has minimum oversight.
Yeah, fire doesn't discriminate between a high-rise building or a single-family dwelling or a small bungalow. And what does the building code do? The double standard, continues to leave these houses, at risk, and least protected. But I want to add something with this resiliency, because we feel like that our solution seems to be all the time. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, but no one can see us. The
Oh,
slideshow is still not working.
oh. Okay,
It's too early for that.
just
All right,
a fun
now
fact, if you know that song, the immigration song.
we come from the land of ice and snow. Nobody.
That is written about Iceland, by the way. Okay, I wanted to talk quickly about the layering, because that's one of the things we've always been kind of fashionable about what's happening in this culture. We feel like instead of looking at really into core of problems, we feel always we just add layers to kind of try to make things work a little better for us. And I always say the story about like normal thing, like when you get a headache. The first solution of you is just for the people is just run and get a Tylenol and solve the headache. Instead of kind of go back and find the solution. Why are you having headache? Do you need water? Are you stressed, or what's going on? So we feel the same way in the industry of construction right now. We have problems. They figure out that we do have issues with these wildfires, but we are not really solving the core of the problem. So we need to do more than focus on defensible spaces, trimming trees, clear brushes, while we're just ignoring, the buildings and the structure itself. We must design homes that are part of the solution. That means using non-combustible material, like all, like steel frame and everywhere. Integrate systems that can help with the firefighting, like pumps, underground pumps for pools and even salt water if it's available. And then sealing structure, very important, making sure that embers don't get into the structure. And pretty much rethink every joint and vent and opening, as a possible threat of the building.
Um, the next step isn't about one product, it's about a systematic change. Codes, policies, and education must evolve together. We at Minarc, we've been building with steel for over 15 years, not as an experiment, but as a standard.
Yeah, the benefits, of course, of steel. I hope most people know that here. Steel doesn't burn, which is the biggest benefit in these fire zones. It doesn't shrink, wrap, or has no attraction to termites, and it doesn't grow mold or does rot over time. But the most important, it does not burn or does not give fuel to the fires. I want to talk about, like, we did homes in the 15 years ago, 3 homes for Habitat for Humanity. And
It was a project that city of LA had
yeah,
called RNLA, Restore Neighborhoods in LA. And we worked with Habitat for Humanity to build 3 homes with them, sustainable.
yeah, there was the first homes that City of LA did with net zero, the requirements of net zero. It was a test pilot for LA. We successfully succeeded to do this. They were supposed to do 9 homes. We were the only one that were able to do it on budget. The reason of that was high insulated value we did. We used steel, and we still, like I said, we were still able to come on a budget. But after the fact, the program was just pretty much killed, and the reason for that was with the wood manufacturing and the lobbying for the wood got kind of a little scared of this situation, so they started. They donated bunch of lumber, millions of dollars of lumber
To Habitat.
to the program.
So that killed that idea.
So that killed that idea.
Okay.
So yes.
Yeah, so we've designed home across California that combine steel framing with modern insulation and precise detailing, um, achieving beauty, efficiency, and safety together. These aren't a theoretical solution. They are practical, scalable, and proven to last.
Codes are designed for minimum safety. In high rises, it's about how quickly you can escape the building, and most in everywhere it becomes that how quickly you can escape out of the building. These fire zones needs to be different. It's not about the true resiliency of it. It needs to be more. It needs to be non-flammable, so it doesn't for safety of the community. But because of the minimum code restriction, that's where things stops with the builders, and that's what happens.
And we need policymakers and architects who will lead, not wait, and homeowners who demand more than good enough. Because resilience shouldn't be an upgrade, it should be the norm. Education is critical. Many people still think of steel as industrial or cold, but pro steel construction is about performance, health, and longevity. All of these houses you see are built with steel structure. So I think it's strange that people always think it's cold. It doesn't have to be. It's what's inside that matters the most.
Yeah, steel structure doesn't mold. It doesn't like termites. It doesn't shrink. It doesn't crack. It doesn't, it doesn't rot. And first of all, it does not burn. It's stable, safe, and sustainable. It's a smarter way to build.
We both grew up in Iceland, surrounded by glaciers, lava, and the raw power of nature. And we quickly learn that you can't fight nature. You must work with it.
Yeah, this Icelandic experience and the perspective, it becomes our design philosophy.
You don't want to build too close to the volcano, for example.
Yeah.
It might end, badly.
Well, it definitely guides everything we do. Very simple. Honesty in materials, clarity in forms, respect to the environment. Our goals are always create homes that are both humane and resilient, and that connect to the land yet prepare it for its extreme.
By supporting fire resilient construction, especially steel framing and metal roofing, insurers can lower risk and eventually lower premiums. If entire community adopt these methods, the
Oops.
economic
Sorry.
will shift permanently towards safety. This is example of the houses we were talking about earlier that we did with Habitat for Humanity. Fire resilience doesn't happen in isolation. When one home resists ignition, it protects its neighbors. Resilience spreads onwards, home by home, street by street. So if we could get together and be a community and build it right, and with steel, we are not just we are helping the whole community. And even if you build just few of them, it still stops there. We don't keep on feeding the fire.
Yeah, it's extremely important that the insurance company become a part of this movement. They are a big force that will trigger both builders and especially homeowners to change the mentality of how we build. You imagine a community that is completely fire, non-combustible. Every piece, every roof, every wall, every connection, and that's more than sustainability. That is community survival in these areas.
We have the materials, we have the science, we even have the proof. What we need now is collective will to do it.
Yeah, we need the policymakers to change. The simple thing is the codes are there. There's no, you don't have to invent anything. I mean, there is a simple type 2 construction method that is proven for any high rises that is more than 5 stories. So a simple change in, not even in code, in regulation, just say in high build areas, you have to build type 2 construction, as simple as that. So every project now we do for these fire rebuilds are completely type 2, which means we use non-flammable material, both on the all structural elements in the building, and using, of course, we use steel. We need architects and builders, to adopt these standards, to understand that this is the future and this is what is needed, and homeowners, which is kind of the easiest person to sell, but they need
Convince.
convinced, so, but they really need to come on board and be the driving force of it, because if they're building their own homes as a custom-made home, that's what it becomes, kind of should become the norm.
And it's easy or like sellable because they know it's a long-term commitment. It's a, you won't have any mold and termites and all of the above, but you also have a better insulation, which means it lower the cost of your running your home, and it has longevity, and you will, the house will survive longer. It's built to last. So that's easy. But the regular developer doesn't look at the whole, the long run. It's just how fast and how cheap can I build it now?
How easy I can build it. And that's where we need the policymaker to drive that. Those are the only people that can drive, because we talk about this. We had like defensible space. This is very beautiful, and there's a lot of talk in LA about defensible spaces. They're requiring up to 10 feet right now. They want to push plants and landscaping 10 feet away from structure, which is beautiful. But the sad thing about it, there's no enforcement or any control of that. What happened to it after people move into that house? So people can plant their trees in a planters or do things next to the house, which is not require any permits, and then they're allowed to do that. Structure itself is enforceable. You can enforce people to build type 2 non-flammable structure. So it's extremely important that policymakers step in there and make the rules to change this. If that doesn't happen, I don't see any changes soon in this industry until we get more people involved in doing metal framing, because labor cost is something that, and the unknown for the builders and the developers is a high risk, for them to move into that change.
They should. Are
Yeah,
they?
right, and that's what we. Yeah, people
Yeah,
die.
and that's always 3 stories or higher. But are they doing it also in residential? I
No,
haven't seen
they're
that.
doing it more in the commercial, and a lot of it is commercial already, set with type 2 construction. Right. If it gets more than yes, X amount of units or X amount of stories, you are required to do type 2 construction. But our passion is pushing that into residential, because more people will build this way using steel and metal. It will become cheaper to build. Right now it's the biggest issue we have in this is labor cost because of lack of knowledge of using this material. So, excuse me. So I
Yeah,
say,
it's sad to see the houses burn and people's homes disappear. Um, Yeah, because also, the single question of, is my home built to last? That actually can spark a moment. So I say we can't control the wind or the fire, but we can control how we build.
Yeah. So let's rebuild.
That's the end of this
Yeah.
story. And now, if you have any questions, we can talk about it. We are probably better at just talking about it than being real speakers.
Yes.
Yes.
Right.
So one of the things that seems to be voted on is the timeline of permits being dragged out for reconstruction. Is the projection in Los Angeles, is that accurate in terms of, you hear some numbers talk about that there's hundreds of permits, but only, a handful in proportion to grant. And if there is that kind of lag on permitting, how will it affect changing from traditional living to, switching to something this where the code officials may want longer to build? How do you see that impacting the rebuilding of existing damage, but potentially new developments in this?
Yeah, this is a great question. Absolutely. So the city of LA is pretty good at organizing themselves around this fire rebuild. There's new programs out there, but they're all, it's so interesting. Everything is driven to the traditional wood building type 5 construction, but the biggest issue we have also with that, even like the government control of the energy calculations, which is called we call it the Title 24 reports. They're also driven off of wood construction, but they allow us, to do, metal frames wall, but not even, there's no regulation in the Title 24 still today that allow us to do metal deck roofing on a single family dwelling, like an industrial style type. We have to change our type of building to be able to do that, which is, for the Title 24. So absolutely, they have a lot of issues with that, and their teams are not educated, and they're educated about it, but they're not traditionally looking at plants that are type 2 construction. So we have noticed in ours, because people are telling they get plans back very fast through a plan check of a wood frame building. Our plans are taking longer time. So I think that's the answer, because it's a little bit more complicated for them, and they have to kind of do a little bit more research, when they do these. So we ended up, there's another program that they came up with another, which is called self-certification, which put a lot of risk on us as an architect, because you're kind of self-certifying yourself for the construction, type of building, and then they just verify it on field. So we ended up doing that. That was a test and go back to school and get that and get ourselves certified. So we're always, because even though we get these hurdles against us that we're not supposed to. Makes your life harder to do this. We're always trying to find solution. Okay, we're not going to give up on this. We'll just find a solution to still make it faster for these clients. So the client doesn't have to wait, weeks or 2 weeks longer because he's doing that. Even that shouldn't be fair. Yes. So that's my answer to that question.
So how does the self-certification process work? We just
They don't know.
Well,
They're like, okay, we have it.
pretty much.
And we send it in, and they're like,
We sign
you're the
up.
first one with it in, and we don't know. Wait.
Well,
Wait a little bit.
the only thing they certify is going to go through is the zoning code on that,
Yeah, that came later.
But then all the
First they were like,
structural element, the
It was
type
put
2.
on us. I don't know.
Yeah, and then we self-certified, and we pretty much, with our insurance company, just tell them that we are taking responsibility over our own plans. So they don't check that for standard building check.
Do you guys have, as architects, do you have an overarching body that's lobbying for these industry-wide changes, or are you individually pushing and spreading the?
We are alone.
We have
It's a strange
started
passion to
conversation.
have, huh?
we have started
Some people
conversation.
collect stamps, others money. We just keep on going to a
We collect
direction no
peasants.
one wants to like be with us in.
But we've been talking to Clark Dietrich, and we got together on some a little podcasting and stuff like that, and a little
Meeting and
meeting
we're
out
talking to
there,
them
like
about.
newsletters and stuff like that. So we are, because they have really,
They found
they
us
have
and they were
impact.
like,
They can do
"Oops."
impact.
They're,
Yeah, we were
these
able to.
crazy architects that are pushing that, Steve. So we are trying to figure out a way. What are we going to do?
Yeah, we were able to kind of convince
If
them.
you have any ideas, give me.
Yeah, you were able to convince them that this is something that they need to get behind. So we need more people like that with a strong impact in the industry. Correct. Yes.
So following up on her question, obviously this, if we're getting the word out of all this, the more fires, the question is of it having to do. Obviously, just changing from complete wood to no wood or very good to most all is a major shift. What, in your opinion, are something that the production holders, the greatest demand home builders or remodelers that could easily implement to start this process? So that all of a sudden people start seeing 1 or 2 or 3 more fire resistant things everywhere, and all of a sudden starts building that wall on the top of the mountain.
Trainee, education and trainees. We got to train people to use the materials. That's the biggest factor right now. And that's cost factor for developers. And we had this conversation with Clark Dietrich. They as one of the leaders in metal stud manufacturing in the U.S., they need to put some money in training people, to use this material. It's staggering how much different, how people, when you mention this, when you bring out the plans to contractor, and he sees it's a type 2. First of all, most of them barely know what type 2 construction is, and when they look at the structural drawings, they say, "Oh, well, metal deck, and this is it's and that's basically comes like I said before. It's about education, and trainee."
And also, but humanity isn't like very adaptable. We never want to change. There's an upgrade on the iPhone, and we're like, "Oh, they changed everything. What are we going to do now?"
Yeah.
So
Life is
there's
ruined.
like, it's just like a built in us. Don't change. And that's also a big factor. And also when the fire, everybody gets, a little bit anxious, and it's like, ants that walk in a line, and then we throw some water on them, and they are like, all of a sudden, let's go back to the line. And how are we going to do that fast? And then when policymakers, they'll just like, let's build it fast. Just do the same, because that's, and that's the fastest. When we are like, no, we should, now the whole Palisades is burned in Malibu, we should take line from the ocean and put it up to the hill and through, and we can have sprinklers from the ocean coming, and all electrical lines and the ground. But then there is no community. It's like, it's you're on your own. And that's a problem.
Yeah, it's a huge problem right now for the beachfront properties in Malibu. So city of Malibu uses the opportunity right now to renew all the seawalls. Because seawalls are up. It was a terrible situation, before, and some of them were failing, and it was danger of basically getting into the ocean. So now the whole beach is pretty much burned. And the city of Malibu comes up with this, and okay, every single person, all this has to redo their seawalls. It has to be done to a new code, the regulations we're doing right now, and the septic system. But they didn't think about that. What they do pretty much right there, they stop development, because you need the whole community to build the seawall. You can't have if one person just builds a front seawall in front of their home, he will need to build she will need to build back walls on both sides, back to the PCA to enclose
That's
the
another
septic system.
$600,000.
So it becomes, first of all, it's too much money. And if you have the money to do that, why would you do that to gain, pretty much give your neighbors opportunity that now he can just tie into you and he will be done. So everybody's waiting, everybody's sitting, and there's absolutely nothing going on. And that's where it's so lacking, because coming from Europe, the community, like Erla is saying, is so much stronger to help a situation like this happens, It's same like another mind-boggling thing. It's like Edison, because all the lawsuits and things, they are pretty much required now to do everything underground. And they should have done it, 30 years ago. It's ridiculous. But finally now, this devastation, they're going to be forced to put everything underground. But they can't get the poles removed. And the reason for they can't get the poles removed, because they leased the poles for 100 years to community companies, like cable companies, other companies. So now they sit here and they're like trying to figure out that the solution, how do they need to pay them out so they can remove the poles? So this is the situation. We're like, it's a big mess everywhere in this, And another thing I wanted to add, that question we had before, because I remember, because why the permits are not coming in fast enough. Because I think the first thing, of course, as an architect, it takes a while to create the plans if you want to do a good job and do a good plan. But second of all, the city is also requiring people to do, soil reports and new surveys and all the things, and a lot of people that are just rebuilding, and they really don't have the money. The insurance company didn't pay enough to and they're trying to build as cheap and as fast as possible. It becomes a hurdle for them to pay for these services, And I think that's one of the people, like, I've heard that people are trying to, put in drawings that is just like we used to do maybe 20, 30 years ago, just basic, very simple. It's just so much complicated right now, and costs much, much more money for these clients.
Any other questions? Then that's
it
the
then.
end then.
35 minutes. That's exactly what we thought.